Alrighty, hi everyone. Welcome to today's workshop on how to work a career fair. My name is Isabel Wright, and I'm the Career Services Specialist here in Rossier. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This is the agenda for our workshop. We're going to talk about the before the career fair, what happens during the day of, and as well as after the career fair. So before the career fair, there's quite a few things that I hope you all have been doing or plan to do over the next few days. The main thing is to research the employers who are attending. So you can find that on our career fair website. I can also drop it in the chat later on if you have trouble finding it. It's also on our website. I want you all to look at the regions that these school districts are representing, identify the communities they serve, and is it socioeconomic status? Is it what kind of racial or cultural populations are you going to be working with if you were to go in that district? And look at the school website. You can find out so much information just by looking at the school website, their mission statement, their values, and kind of what their culture is on the website. Also, here's a list of, not a list, I'm not going to go over the actual link. You can look at that. But I do want to make aware that we have resume workshops both for MAT and MSc. This career fairs is open to everyone with the emphasis on MAT and MSc students. You can see here the template, a screenshot of the template that we highly recommend students adhere to. It's not a requirement. You can certainly have your own resume. However, based on the industry that you want to get into, I would typically gear towards the more conservative. People say boring, but I think it's more consistent, concise, clear, one-page resume. Where you see students and even alums get more creative on their resume is when they enter an industry like graphic design, advertising, marketing, and they have to showcase their creative side to their resume. So that's sort of the differentiating points. If you note on these bullet points here, we try to include, at least in our sample, quantifying results. So it's not enough to just put what you're responsible for as a student teacher or as a teacher, coordinator, counselor. It's even more, it'll make your resume even stronger if you were to add numbers, percentages, and quantifying your results where you can. So here is our resource for MSc students. You can also check it out on YouTube as well. And this is the MSc specific resume that we can also send. It's also on Handshake under the resource library to take a look at that template and that example. So while you are in that preparation for the career fair on Friday, I want you also to be thinking about some of the questions you want to ask these employers. They are very excited. I've spoken to a few employers who are getting ready to come on Friday, and they're very excited to hire and to meet USC talent, specifically Rossier students like yourself. So it's important to lead with confidence and also come prepared with questions. Here's a sample of a few questions that if I were a student interested in this, I would want to ask to know kind of team dynamics. What is a typical day like? You can also even ask like, what is the hiring process like? What can you expect in the application process? Also, if there are current positions available, this is a job fair, this is a career fair, so that is appropriate to ask. And if they don't have any positions open, do you anticipate openings in this upcoming year? I think is appropriate as well. And something I also want you all to be practicing is introducing yourself. I want you to be comfortable, or at least more comfortable, with an elevator pitch. We talk about this here and on the slide. Typically, it's no more than 20 to 30 seconds. I always like to end an elevator pitch with a question, so it feels like a dialogue, and so it sort of puts the emphasis, yes, on you, but kind of gives it back to whoever it is that you're talking to. We have samples on the Handshake resource library, but essentially you want to introduce yourself, what your degree program is, if you're a first or second year, what your interest is, would also be helpful, and also keeping an open mind. So I'm interested in K-12, or I'm interested in single subject, multi-subject, whatever it is that you're interested in. But also would love to hear more about what programs or what positions your school has to offer. The important thing is to practice it out loud. So it's one thing to have kind of bullet points on a note card or have an idea in your head of what you want to say, but it's another thing to also stand in front of a mirror, look yourself in the eye, and practice that speech. Let's see, what else can I say? I think it's also important, perhaps, to be thinking about your teaching philosophy, if you have that in mind, or kind of what draws you, what inspires you, what have you seen based on your research of other schools and districts that you like? Maybe perhaps you can incorporate that in your elevator pitch. And what I mean by ending in a question is, I'm a first-year MAT student interested in blank. I saw on your website that you value blah. I was drawn to that. Can you share a little bit more about your school's mission statement? Or can you share a little bit more about the positions you have, or what is an ideal candidate that you are looking for in this role? Because then it kind of just lends itself to that conversation piece. Now, with your attire, you see here on the screen, kind of professional versus business casual. I would err towards the professional attire, business professional. At bare minimum, I know this probably goes without saying, ladies, short skirts should not be as high. What I like to tell people is what you would wear in front of your grandma or church, or something more conservative, I would say. Men, guys, gentlemen, I would probably err towards a suit. Tie is optional. You don't have to have one. It's a nice look. And I always like to tell my students, you always want to dress for the part that you want to get. And it lends itself a nice first impression to kind of dress professionally, ideally closed-toed shoes, no flip-flops. Something that I don't have on here, ideally, please do not chew gum. It's always kind of a distraction when you're trying to talk to someone and they're like chewing like a cow. So ideally not do that. All right, so we've arrived on the day of. We're here. The career fair starts at 1. You probably maybe arrived a little bit advanced, so 12:30, 12:45. I recommend bringing printouts of your resume. It's always nice to have an electric, like if you have an iPad or even your laptop, that's fine as well, to take notes, or to even on the fly be able to email someone with your resume. We'll talk about follow-up in a little bit, but that's another chance for you, if you don't have more copies of your resume, to include that as an attachment when you follow up and send thank you emails. We'll talk about that at the end, though. I would ditch your backpack. Ideally, if you have a portfolio or any kind of folder, professional looking folder. I know USC, the bookstore, sells those, but if you have something like that to bring with you, that would be very helpful, and it just adds to that professionalism. Like you see here, the notepad, good old pen and paper works just fine, so that you can take notes on who you met with, what was the district, what are they looking for. If you can write an email down, if they don't have a business card, that would be very helpful. And also write down what you discussed with that person, because in your follow-up, which, like I mentioned, we'll get to in a second, you might want to say, hi, my name is blank. I met you at the career fair. This is what we talked about. As I mentioned, I'm interested in blah. Or maybe you bonded over something personal, like you both live in Pasadena or something. So having a notebook or paper and pen, or even like an iPad to take notes, would be really helpful. Oh, one thing I didn't mention that should be on during the event. So let's just say you come in, you've practiced your elevator pitch, you have your resumes, in hand, your notebook, your portfolio, you're dressed professionally, you're still nervous. You're still like, oh no, I don't know what to do. Of course, I'll be there. But we will have, I recommend that we have a list of companies. I'm looking around my office to see if I have it. I don't have it, but we will have a list of companies and their tables. Um, Obviously, you will have done research ahead of time on which companies are coming, sorry, which schools are coming and which ones you want to specifically talk to. But I recommend talking if you are trying to get the jitters out and you're nervous. I recommend talking to a district that you might not necessarily be interested in. It's not your top one that you want to work at, but you need to practice, if you will. Get the jitters out, practice your elevator pitch for the first time with an employer, with a school district that you weren't, like I said, necessarily interested in, but they're there. They're not talking to anyone. This is someone that you can perhaps practice with. Do that until 2 or 3 times until you actually feel comfortable, and then go into the companies, to the schools that you really set your eyes on to meet with. What else would I do? We will have water out there, light beverages. Light appetizers and snacks to kind of make it more of a welcoming environment so you don't feel as nervous. What else? When I was a student and I worked career fairs, I was also a student. I just started with, can I get you some water? Because if you think about it, these employers have been or will be sitting at their desk. They're not going up and down to get water. So that's always a nice icebreaker if you're feeling a little nervous. What else? So yeah, so that is kind of what I would do for during the event. Any questions so far? I feel like I'm going kind of fast. No? Okay. After the event, you've gotten all your notes down, your contact information, people that you've spoken with, you feel good, you go back home. A few things I would recommend doing within 24 hours. One, I would follow employers, follow the school districts that you met with, that you're interested in on LinkedIn. I would also email them within 24 hours of the career fair. Notes, personalized message alongside your resume. Even if you handed them your resume, I would still attach it in your thank you email, because you just never know, like maybe they lost it. And especially if this isn't a school that you are interested in, you just want to make sure all your ducks are in order. You, in your thank you email, could say, again, thanking them for their time and reminding them where they connected with you, what you talked about, what you're interested in, and if you talked about a position, why are you the ideal candidate for this position? And then offer any additional information that they might need, and refer them to the enclosed resume that you will attach. I would also apply for positions. So if you discussed a specific opportunity with an employer, get ready to apply. Whether they show you the website right then and there and you save it, or you find it online after that it was discussed, make it a point to, your resume ideally will have already been up to snuff and good to go, but make it a point to finalize your cover letter and incorporate these values and the mission statement, anything that you can draw upon based on their company, the school website, as well as the conversation that you had at the career fair. Incorporate that in your cover letter. If you did not discuss a job, see what jobs they have available on their website or anything that might be of interest to you. And then if you need a little bit more time, you had a great conversation with this employer, you you still need to kind of get a few more documents in order for the application. If you're not ready, I would still save it, but still have a reminder or anything of that sort to apply before the deadline. That's a wrap. So I will be taking questions. Michelle, it looks like you have a question. Please go ahead, fire away.
So you did mention to bring a resume or like a printed resume. Should we also according to the list of school districts that's going to be in the career fair, should we make like individual cover letters for these separate districts and then bring them over to the career fair? Like, is that is that a wise move, or should we just like save the cover letters for the thank you emails, or when applying to positions like late, like within the 24 hours?
Great question. I love it. If I were you, I would save it for the thank you follow-up and or I would also save it for when you apply to the positions. So the beautiful thing about this career fair is it will take care of what you would normally do in a cover letter, meaning you are going to meet these people in person, face to face. Being able to have that elevator pitch, which is like your intro paragraph of your cover letter, and then talk about your experiences, your coursework, um, anything that can aid your professional career trajectory, you will be saying in person. So you don't necessarily need to submit a cover letter ahead of time alongside your resume. I think just having a resume to be able to hand out is good enough. And I would spend that extra time that you would craft a cover letter to that elevator pitch and that dialogue of kind of, like I said, what you're interested in and how have your coursework, how have your classes, how have your internships or past experiences helped you become the teacher that you want to be or the counselor that you want to be? Does that make sense? Cool. Good question.
I do have another
Sure.
question, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah.
For can you walk us through how to navigate on Handshake for the resource for the elevator pitch resource? Um, it's been a while for, or it's kind of like my first time on the website, so I was hoping.
Absolutely. So go over our website or the Handshake Career Resource Library, or both is fine too.
The resource library that you mentioned earlier,
Oh, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. You
yeah,
guys
like
can't see my screen, can you? I mean, like, that I'm on a browser.
no,
You
no.
can't?
I
Okay,
can
give me
only
one
see your
second.
PowerPoint.
Okay, let me reshare because I think I only shared that PowerPoint. Okay, can you all see my screen now? Okay, so I will go over that. This, just really quick, this is the Career Fair website. You can actually see the YouTube playlist, which has both MSc and MAT resume, cover letter, interview tips. So check that out. Also, this is what I'm talking about. Like these are the confirmed districts and schools that are coming. So literally, I would, if you are interested in Bright Star schools, I would literally go to Bright Star schools and look at their website and see, okay, what is the vibe am I getting? What culture kind of can I gather based on of course it's limited, but based on the information that I see here, what kind of questions do I have? What do I want to know more of that I can ask these employers? So that's that. Um, Let me go ahead and show you the resource library. So, um, will not see this part because this is the staff side of it, but if I were to go on as a student, so one second, view as user. This is what you all typically see on your Handshake account. If I were to go to Career Center and then resources, you actually have access to both the University Career Center, that's main USC, and then Rossier specific resources. So I go to this toggle and I look at, okay, resume, cover, great, interview tips. Oh, I want to learn more about informational interviews. Click on that. And then we have different worksheets and guides and handouts to help you with that. And then specifically, because I had mentioned this in the resume portion, if I were to go back, oops, go to resources, Rossier resources. The first one should be resume cover letter for you all. You can see the resume template down here. And then specifically, because I know I've spent time on MAT and MSc, you can see an MAT resume sample, school counseling resume example. When I say template, I don't actually mean look at like the little boxes and tables that you see on resume templates. I mean good old Word document. We just happen to have something like this where you can literally just like plug and play. Like, okay, this says Tommy Trojan. I'm going to put my name on it. Like that. Does that help? Great. Other questions? These are great questions. Oh, I saw one on the chat. Let's see. Zoe, explain the difference if there was one between a letter of introduction and a cover letter. Some applications have been saying letter of introduction. Okay, honestly, they're the same thing. So not everyone works in career services, and so these recruiters, hiring managers use the term interchangeably. A cover letter is essentially introducing yourself and your experiences, your qualifications, even your coursework, anything that is relevant to that position that can showcase how you are a qualified candidate is a cover letter, or in this particular case, a letter of introduction. So school districts, companies use that term interchangeably because, they're not career services people. They're just looking to hire. But I wouldn't worry too much about that. So good question. Another question is, do you have advice for students who are not looking for teacher positions, PhD student, planning on attending network to see if any schools are hiring, sustainability program manager? Great question. So we have a list. Actually, let me show you the Google folder because that is accessible to everybody. A few things. One, you can actually see, everyone should have access to this. If you registered for the career fair, you should have received an email from me last Friday and then the Friday before. I see a few thumbs up. Thank you for that. Including this link to our Google folder. If you don't have that, no worries. In fact, I'm going to drop it in this chat right now. Save it and let me know if you can't access it and I'll help you out. But anyways, you can see positions employers are hiring. So I know you mentioned sustainability, environmental, education program manager. Obviously, those are not on here. Still, I recommend attending to network, which I know you plan to, which is great, to ask about these types of positions because even if they don't have this public, you don't know if this could be a lead into someone else, lead to network with someone else. Three, I don't know if this might be helpful for you or not, but we are hosting a networking with the pros event in April, specifically not for K-12, but specifically for higher ed in admin roles. So that's something that maybe you might want to consider attending. It'll also be in person, this time from 4 to 6, but that's another option for you. But for this specific event, career fair, advice for students not looking for teacher positions, you're really going to be going in there for networking then to, introduce yourself, let them know what you're interested in. And if they can help network or lead you to someone else who is in the field or direction that you want to aspire to do. Other questions? Emily?
Yeah, hello. So, for the elevator pitch, is that something like we do right as we get to meet them? Like, oh, hello, my name is, and then elevator pitch, or is that kind of like too like I don't know, like putting yourself out there too quickly, you know?
I understand. You go right into it. So let's just pretend I'm a student and you are the employer. I have my little folder. I would say, "Hi, Emily, how are you?" And you would say, "I'm doing well. How are you?" And I'd say, "Great. My name is Isabel, and I'm a first-year MAT student here at Rossier, and I'm so interested in becoming a seventh grade teacher when I graduate. I noticed on your website you do blah, 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 whatever it is that you researched. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?" So that's one avenue. That's one way you can do this. And actually, let me just pull this up on Handshake Resources as well, because we talked about it. Another way that you can do this is same thing, like, "Hi, Emily, my name is Isabel. I'm a school counseling student. I actually am doing my internship at blah, 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 wherever it is that you're doing, where I'm working with blah, blah, blah students. And I find it really fascinating. I saw on your website, so always try to connect. Like I saw on your website that you focus on, substance abuse or rehabilitation with blah, 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 blah. Can you tell me a little bit more about the positions that are opened at your current district or school or company? So it's sort of like that conversation. I didn't even hit 30 seconds. Then you will probably say, oh, fantastic. I'm so happy that you researched the website. In fact, we have this position in blah, 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 blah. And then you can say, wonderful. Actually, back in my undergrad, not even now, like I interned at blank where I worked with blah. So that's your chance right then and there to express and showcase what it is that you've done. This is sort of like bullet points on your resume where I achieved blah. And now I'm just drawing from my resume in my head. Another option is in that same conversation, that's why it's so important to research like that company and take down maybe one or jot down notes before the career fair of like, oh, this school is known for this or has this specific population, or this school works with deaf students only. Like these are really important. Another way to expand that elevator pitch is maybe you don't know what you want, right? Like maybe you're a school counselor, you're an MSc student, and you just know you want to be in school counseling, but you just don't know the avenue yet. You also could lead with that. Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm a first year school counseling student, and I'm interested in learning more about the positions you have at your school, at your company. Currently, I'm taking these 4 classes, expand. I don't know the classes, but I'm taking blah, 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 school counseling, blah, where I'm learning about blank, and this is really interesting. Are those the types of positions that your school offers? Where can I learn more about blah? So they know that you are here to learn. They know that your students, not everyone's going to know what they want to do, or even if they want to work in 7th grade or 1st grade or high school. I have no idea. But the important thing is that you do as much research as you can and lead with confidence, knowing that this is the entirely appropriate place to ask questions. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Cool. Other questions? How do we feel about the career fair? Good, some thumbs up, some nervousness. Okay. I mean, it's normal. It's expected to be a little nervous. I think the prep work beforehand and the anticipation are really where you're going to get the most out of it. These people are here. They want to meet you all. Like that's why they're here. So knowing that they want to meet you is kind of like take it a point of flattery. Like they want to meet you, to connect with you, to help you, perhaps even to hire you. So lead with that is what I would say. Hi, Ryan. We're at the Q&A portion, asking really great questions about networking, elevator pitches, what's the difference between an introduction letter, introduction letter and a cover letter. We were talking about specifically the different types of elevator pitches and how to prepare when you meet with someone. Do you go straight into your elevator pitch? Do you make it more of a conversation? And then lastly, we were just talking on kind of calming the nerves. And, a lot of it, for me at least, when I was a student, is that buildup, that anticipation. What's the prep work that I did before the career fair so that when I get there, I feel like I'm leading with my best foot forward. And understanding and knowing that these employers want to meet you. That's why they're making time out of their day to recruit specifically Rossier students and alumni. So if you lead with that and you practice your elevator pitch ahead of time, of course, I think your names all look familiar. So I feel like I've read at least some of your resumes. Leading with that sense of confidence and practicing ahead of time, I feel like that is where the work needs to get done. Any advice you would like to add, Brian? Any
Well,
questions from the audience?
Yeah, Jessica's got her hand up. Let's hear from
Jessica, yeah, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering if you can share your screen and show us on Handshake, like where the resources for the elevator pitches or the examples that you guys have put together
Yeah,
for us. Thank
absolutely.
you.
So I'm here on Handshake, like I said, Career Center, there's resources, and then Rossier resources. I believe it's under informational interviews and networking. Of course, if it's not, I will email that. I'll personally email that to you. So I was talking about this one. It's called the 30-second elevator pitch. And I would take a look at it, look at kind of just tips on what you can showcase when you have an elevator pitch. And then when I was role playing, I was showing different scenarios. So it's it's daunting if you think about like, oh my gosh, I have to talk for 30 seconds all about myself. You want it to be kind of like a dialogue and conversational. And so these are sort of like pointers of what you can say in that conversation, but don't feel like you have to say, and then I did this, and then I did that, and then I graduated from here, and then this. So there, like you want it to be more flowy, more organic. And when I had talked about different types of elevator pitches, I meant like when you meet someone for the first time at a career fair, it could look different than your elevator pitch when you're in the interview and they ask, tell me about yourself, which is a form of an elevator pitch. That's sort of what I meant.
And what I'll add is, it's a two-way street. You want to learn about these schools, and so it's an opportunity to ask those questions. So part of that prep is just kind of reflecting on what's important to you. What are you looking for from the experience? The other side, it's just a great place to practice. So if you're really nervous, like go to a school that you don't see yourself applying to and talk to them and have a genuine conversation. But sometimes it's helpful just to kind of warm up. And we'll be there too. So come in and practice your pitch on us, and we're happy to give you feedback as you go through it too.
Thank you. Yes, we did talk about that as well. So I'm happy that you reiterated that.
Thank
Other,
you.
Mhm. Other questions, concerns? How are we feeling? Just gauging a pulse on this. I'm excited. Ryan and I just met today. So we have everything lined up and prepped. We're good to go. So I look forward to seeing you all, and I will be there if you have any questions the day of, or if you're feeling a little nervous, you want to get the jitters out, we'll be there to help as well.
Sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop share. Thank you all for attending. And I